All right, I am so excited about tonight. I can barely stand myself. If I was not wearing stilettos, I'd be jumping up and down. So I am thrilled tonight. We've got 4 amazing storytellers that over the past 4 weeks have dedicated their time to learning the art of storytelling, and they are going to get up here and share a story about their lives tonight. And our first storyteller, the first night we shared with one another a little bit about who we were and what we were up to. And when Jo shared her story, I'm going to be honest, I was intimidated. I thought, why is this person coming to my class? She has over 17 years as a journalist for the Dayton Daily News and has been awarded for the work that she did around heroin addiction in our city as a journalist. She is also a New York Times best-selling author, the 13th. And she is going to share with us a story about her life. So let's give her a huge round of applause. Jo.
Everybody got a drink? Because you're going to need one. January 5th, 2016. It's 2:15 in the morning. I'm laying in bed rocking my Eeyore Disney pajamas, got the heating blanket up high, and I'm binge watching episodes of Homeland. I am digging on Damian Lewis when I hear a faint cry. Now I immediately thought of our neighbor's cat. Now, they would go out to the bars, there were a bunch of college students, come home at night, let the cat out as they came in. Then they'd fall asleep before they let the cat back into the house. Now, that didn't bother me in the summertime, but this was winter. It was cold. So I got out of bed and I went over to the window to look to see if I could see the cat. Everything seemed quiet by then. Didn't see the cat, so I just climbed back into bed. And just about the time I got all snuggled and warm, I heard the cat again. So I thought my daughter was sick. She's 27 years old. We lived together in a small apartment. She'd gone to bed early, and I didn't want this cat to wake her up. She had gone up to Lake Snow in Indiana for a few days right around New Year's, and at midnight on New Year's, they had jumped into the ice-cold waters of the lake. Her boyfriend, her, their whole family. Now, is it a wonder she came home sick? So I wasn't, too sympathetic, but still didn't want the cat to wake her up. So I get my coat out of the closet, put on my boots, still in my Eeyore pajamas, I might add, and I walked out into the hall. And when I did, in the hall between our 2 bedrooms, I saw that Megan's bedroom light was on and the room was really disheveled, which was not all that out of the ordinary. Then I also saw a light shining from the bottom of the bathroom door. And I thought, she must really be sick. Then I heard the cry again. And I knew that daughter of mine, a cat lover like her aunt, had brought in a stray from the lake. Wasn't the first time, she'd done it before, and I'd been able to talk her into finding homes for them because our apartment was so small that the only place we had for a litter box was under the kitchen table. I don't know about you, but that was not appetizing. So I knock on the door, ready to, demand her to bring this animal out. And a very faint voice answers, "I need a moment, Mom." So I stood there thinking of all the things I could say, all the reasons to convince her we could not keep that cat. A few minutes later, sure enough, the door opens and she's holding a bundle, wrapped in a blue and white beach towel, but it wasn't a cat. It was a baby. She looked at me. I thought I was constipated, Mom. She had delivered the baby there in the toilet. For a few minutes, the past few weeks and months had just flashed over my mind. We had gone shopping right before Christmas. We were getting our Christmas Eve outfits. And I had been in the same dressing room at Kohl's because the store was so crowded. There was no baby bump. This girl was thin. She was an athlete and a coach, and she seldom had periods. The doctor wasn't worried about it, so we didn't either. Even just a few days before New Year's, she had been at the gym with her boyfriend, and they had had a stair-stepping competition, and she beat him pretty badly. There was no indication of her pregnancy, and honestly, looking at her face, I knew she had been clueless, and so had I. Around about that time, she started to like wobble a little bit, so I grabbed her arms and she said, "Just go back to bed, Mom, like I'm gonna do that." So she said, "She's got 10 fingers and 10 toes. Oh, Mom, it's a girl. But there's nothing wrong with her lungs," and I could attest to that fact. And I told Megan, there's no way I'm letting you out of this house to drive yourself to the hospital. I'm going to take you. And then I said, that's really stupid. I'm not taking you. We're calling the paramedics. So I called 911. And the first thing the dispatcher said to me was, "Did she cut the cord?" So I asked Megan, and she said, "With toenail scissors." It's all I could find. Now, she had studied anatomy and physiology in college, so if she had some kind of knowledge of what to do, I think I'd have been clueless. And then the dispatcher asked, did she tie up the cord attached to the baby? So I asked her, and she said no. And the dispatcher said, "Go find a white shoestring, a clean one, and tie the cord up." So I'm thinking, it's 2:30 in the morning. It's the middle of the winter. I had no clue where a white shoestring was in my tiny apartment. Would you? So I start turning out the contents of the drawers, finding, toothpicks and ink pens and rubber bands and paper clips, but no shoestring. Megan calls out to me again, "I got it, Mom." I went out, and she had tied the umbilical cord in a slip knot, something her father had taught her to do when they were fishing. Along about that time, the paramedics arrived. They looked at the cord and said, "Well, that'll do." So they load Megan up in the car, or in the ambulance. I run and take off the Eeyore pajamas reluctantly, got dressed, and I went out to my car. And while I was waiting for the ambulance to pull away, I thought, we need some support here. Thought about calling the baby's dad. He and Megan are in a long-term committed relationship. But I thought, I think that was this tale I would let her tell him. That's right. So I called her brother Nick. He's the middle child. He and Megan were very close. I called his number. By then it's maybe 3 o'clock. I said, "Your sister has had a baby. Will you meet us at the hospital?" He's like, "Okay." Hang up the phone, start to back my car out of the parking space. Phone rings. It's Nick. Wait a minute. Who had a baby? That was kind of the reaction we had from most people over the next few weeks. She had no clue, we had no clue, they had no clue. At the hospital, Megan's blood pressure was dangerously high. The doctor said he thought she was not in shock, but just traumatized. And so I stayed most of the day. And about 5 o'clock, I saw, she and the baby's daddy were there, and she'd explained to him. That's a whole other story how that happened. So I decided to go home. We had a small, overstuffed apartment. We had no baby bed. We had no swing or playpen. We had nothing. The only thing baby-related we had in the house were things that I had saved from Megan's own infancy that were 27 years old and packed away in a cedar chest in the back of the closet behind all of her shoes. She wore a size 10. It would have been possible to get back there. So I go home and think, I'm going to clean this place up. I got to get ready for this baby. And on the drive home, I have to admit, I was really feeling kind of melancholy. Not about the baby, but because my daughter and I had been so close and spent so much time together. We went on vacations, we went to movies, we cooked together, we grocery shopped. I mean, we weren't joined at the hips by any means, but we were friends. We were close. And I thought the time that she spent with me will now be filled with the baby, and rightly so. I was kind of sad. I was kind of mourning the loss of the closeness. And when I got home, the first thing I did was walk into the scene of the birth, the bathroom. There were bloody towels in the bathtub, on the floor. We had a Christmas towel still on the floor. And there was a stripe of blood, and I'm thinking she must have laid the baby down there to wipe her off. There were things in the toilet that must come out of a woman's body when she has a baby that I could not identify and would not even try. There was a bloody hand on the counter where I imagined that she had leveraged herself. And as I was cleaning, I thought, what a miracle that she and the baby were both doing pretty good for all the trauma they'd been through. And that's when I realized that it wasn't so much that our family had changed. Our family was growing. And I thought, that, my friend, can never be a bad thing. I am so glad that baby dropped in.
Let's give Joe another round of applause. What an amazing story.